Hey, there we are, all set. What's up? It is Matt Kelley. It is Matty Riser. WrestleMats. We are back in time for WrestleMania season full force, Matty. Oh baby, I had said on TikTok, Matty, just the other day that we need stories, we need matches. It needs to get rolling because when I put that thing out, it was 30 days away from WrestleMania. We're just shy of 30 days away. Certainly, by the time this podcast comes out, we're more like 3 weeks away. But the ball's starting to get rolling just a little bit. Can you feel it? Are you in? Is it in the air, Matty? Is WrestleMania season in the air for you?
Oh, it's WrestleMania. Yeah, man. Any other year, we'd be like, what, a week out from WrestleMania? We've got
Yeah,
three or
yeah.
four. Crazy. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. We're getting WWE's cooking right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this card finalizes. Can't wait for the podcast tonight and for WrestleMania season, baby.
Yeah, WrestleMania season in full swing now. A little bit of a disclaimer for this week. Life is doing the life things for Maddie and I. And so we are actually recording on a Sunday night as to our usual Tuesday night. So we do not have the information about what's going to be happening on Monday Night Raw. No Miss Cleo for us. So unfortunately, any kind of thoughts that we may have are not going to be predicated on what happens on WWE Monday Night Raw. We'll get to that on the next podcast. But Maddie, what we did get is our quick count topic of the night that happened last week, or since the last time that you and I have got to chat. We got that first interaction with John Cena and Cody Rhodes since the Elimination Chamber. I will say my first thought about this is I was a little bit skeptical the last time that you and I talked about the shows being overseas and fans kind of having to watch at different times. And I think I got to eat crow on that one. Man, that crowd over there was bananas for this segment. In fact, every crowd that has been overseas has been incredible so far. So I think that's actually hyping it up and making it bigger right now. But what do you think about our first interaction? Actually, let's back it up. Let's not even get to the interaction. What do you think about John Cena?
Wow. I think we all were expecting the new music, the new look, and we got same old Cena with a different character, different promo skills, kind of. But it was different. I expected. I don't know if I liked it or not. I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, that's
I was
fair.
ready
That's fair.
for more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that kind of feeds into his promo a little bit, right? He said, everybody's expecting it. You're getting nothing. You deserve nothing. This is what you get. And so I did think it was an odd direction to go. At first, I did like the promo as it went on. It did start to feel, when we talked about how when Austin went heel and it was a little bit difficult for him to find his footing, it was new. John has definitely been a heel, but it's been what, 10, 15 years, something like that. And so it was a little bit trying to find that footing and not going back to the same old John Cena. And he was out there before Cody came out for what, 15 minutes?
Dude, it felt like forever.
Yeah,
And I think that was my biggest like takeaway is like I wasn't it was uncomfortable, I guess would be the word, because it
a little
was
bit.
I didn't know what he was really pointing at other than like, national domestic violence hotline, like help is available, like that the fans have basically abused him for 25 years.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's
I
kind of
got where you're
that's
going now. Okay.
that's what I got, call 800
Uh,
779
oh
7233.
man.
But it was just weird. Like, I don't know. Like, obviously it's a story, but it was so like, I guess, out of character because we're used to John Cena,
Mm.
muscle loyalty and respect, and we got just blaming it on the fans, basically.
Yeah. Do you think it would have just overall you would have had more investment's not the right word, but do you think you would have just gotten more out of it had just something changed, right? Like even if his shirt was just black or the jorts were just black or any little twist in the music, dear God, not a Def Rebel twist, but like some sort of twist in the music. Do you think you would have felt more like, okay, we're getting a different John Cena versus the way that he spun the promo the way that he did?
Yeah, I think I could see it from like the point of view that okay, you keep his outfit the same for eventual face turn again because it seems like he's going to be
Mm.
tempted with different things. It's cats, man. They're crazy. It
They're
doesn't
having
matter.
their own WrestleMania right now.
It's like he knew what to do to piss me off. But yeah, the outfit was the same, and I
Yeah.
think maybe that feeds into a later story down the road. But yeah, the music, I thought that had to change. You don't want the crowd to get that hype for Cena because I still think you're going to get quite a bit of Cena fans. But yeah, nothing changed, and it was just 20 minutes of Cena getting hated on, basically, which was crazy too with the crowd, like you said.
Yeah, still very much got the let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Actually, the Cena sucks felt like it was deafening when he walked out, but then as the promo went on, it changed, it shifted right into the let's go Cena, Cena sucks. But at the same time, the one thing I will say that I felt like John did incredibly well and that you can't really take away from him here is that he would let the crowd do its thing and then he would take control back and then everybody would listen, and that's really what I took away from is that the live crowd was definitely still in on, like, it wasn't like Dom where they're just trying to boo him to where he actually can't hear, to where he actually can't say anything on the mic. They would tone it back down because they still wanted to know what Cena was going to say next.
Yeah, because we had weeks building up to this moment. It was crazy to see Cena's reaction and then just see how we pivoted to Cody Rhodes in the short,
Mhm.
sweet promo. I think it was almost like the yin yang effect. It fit perfectly, which
Yeah.
is what you needed after a 20-minute promo. You needed, Cody Rhodes to come in there with a burner and get out, mic drop it.
I got to agree. I really do. I was a little bit worried for Cody for a couple of reasons. One, because when he was on, what was it, the Raw after that they were announcing that John was going to be there, you and I were both kind of like, that promo didn't really do anything for us. It didn't advance anything other than say that John was going to be in Brussels for that promo. And then I was just like, man, I was like, is the fire going to be there? Is that chemistry going to pick up? And I think you're right. I think Cody did exactly what he needed to do. And I think he did what he needed to do in order to make this match feel bigger.
The opening line, he's like, "I'm not a boy. I'm the WWE champion." That was like, to me, that was like, oh fuck, like this is real shit right now. This is your WWE champion. He's toe to toe with John Cena, and I think maybe our minds, there's probably a lot of us that were like, okay, this is John Cena. Like, is Cody Rhodes on his level? We're just at what 2 weeks, a month ago, we were like, Cena's not on Cody Rhodes' level. Such
Right.
crazy mindset, how it changes so much week to week with a heel turn like this. There's just wow.
Well, that's kind of what Cody left him with, right? Left Cena standing in the ring with. He's like, look, if this is what you bring to WrestleMania, I'm gonna eat your lunch, man.
Yeah.
There is not gonna be a
No whiny
17th.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, no whiny bitch. There's not gonna be a 17th title run for you. And so that part right there made me interested from the standpoint of, okay, do they go back to the drawing board with John after the reaction, after everything? I don't know that he changes a lot because then that's going back completely from the entire promo that he just gave. But it does feel like something's got to change, right?
Yeah. I don't think it fits well with The Rock either. Like, if you have this whiny,
Yeah.
just blame it on everybody else. Like, you're chasing father time here. This is a big deal, and he's got to level up. And I don't think like Cena or Cody said, you can't be a whiny bitch. And it came out like Cody Rhodes was a stronger moment after this Raw.
Yeah, absolutely loved it from Cody. Now, you touched on The Rock for 1 second, which is actually something that Cody hasn't done yet and that John hasn't done yet either.
Hmm.
Neither of them really brought up anything to do with The Rock. And, we talked about the odds that The Rock is there a ton before WrestleMania, pretty slim. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to be there kind of at all before WrestleMania. But what do you make that John did have this whole blame it on the rain, blame it on the fans, blame it on anything but him mentality, but didn't really talk about taking up The Rock.
Yeah, he didn't address it at all, which was weird. Um, it's so strange. That whole promo is so weird. Like it leaves a lot to be, and we're gonna get some more John Cena dates on the road to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it opens the door for, I guess, mind games with other people like R-Truth or something that questions John Cena's, why are you doing this? Maybe that's what this leads to. And eventually you can have The Rock show up and, say this is why he's doing it. But it still makes The Rock seem like the bigger player in this program, which I guess is what you're aiming for. But to me, I just don't get it just yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we got questions that still need to be answered, and that's okay. There is a little bit of time, and with the way that this story is going in terms of just the fact that it's even happening, I'm willing to give a little bit of leeway, a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. Now, before we switch into our main topic of the night, I want to know, Matty, when we last talked, it felt like for sure, especially after Elimination Chamber, that John Cena was well on his way to WrestleMania and winning number 17. After their face-to-face promo, John and Cody, you have that same level of confidence in number 17 happening at WrestleMania?
It leaves a little bit of doubt. And then I'm not trying to predict WrestleMania 41 just yet, but I'm trying to understand how we're going to get to, it's tough. The Rock, like I still have a feeling that Stone Cold's going to get involved somehow. I don't know if it's night 1, night 2. I don't necessarily need the Avengers Endgame of WrestleMania 40, but how do we get Cena over Cody? There's a lot to be left, and I think there's enough faces that have kind of felt the wrath of The Rock that there's somebody who's going to get involved to go toe-to-toe with The Rock. I just don't know who it is just yet on this road to WrestleMania. Does Rock wrestle? Probably not, but I think there is some kind of WrestleMania Night 1 interaction with The Rock, Cody, Rhodes, Cena. I don't know exactly how. I don't know if that's R-Truth, if that's Stone Cold, who it is that gets involved, but I think there's something that's left out when it comes to The Rock. But yeah, I think there's still a chance, but there's a lot of story to be told.
I think they have proven it that they can have the same talent on, both nights of the card. They did that really last year when Roman, Seth, Cody were both on, both nights of the card. I guess technically The Rock too, since he got involved in the main event. And I do agree it doesn't need to be as Avengers Endgame-y as it was at WrestleMania 40. I think you let that have its moment. And I think John and Cody and The Rock are big enough to carry what's going to go on in the main event for the second night. But yeah, if you want to add a little bit of firepower, a little bit of Stone Cold or something like that, I can get behind it.
Well, and I think that's tough too, because these could be clues you could add in on the road to WrestleMania and not necessarily make it about WrestleMania, which I know.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Whether it's Ric Flair or Stone Cold, somehow these characters get involved to either agree with Cody or agree with Cena, however it makes. But I think it could do a lot in telling a story of how big this 17th title win, Cena's heel turn, what Cody's up against. So there's a lot of story that you could pack in the next month still.
That's funny. I haven't said I needed Nate on WWE TV in a minute. But it does kind of play here. I could see him going up to Cody, maybe him wanting to defend, the 16 and not let Cena get to 17, that sort of thing. So I do kind of like maybe the Legends interaction going up to Cody and telling him what he's in for and that sort of thing. Like I can see that getting over the story of getting to WrestleMania. And WrestleMania, Matty, is everything that we are talking about tonight. So we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 41, outcomes at different WrestleManias that we wish we would have changed, some dream matches that didn't happen, and then what we consider to be our perfect WrestleMania match that actually did take place. But let's keep it here while we're talking Cody and Cena. Let's keep it with WrestleMania 41. We've gotten some matches, like I said, at the top here that have been added, so we have a few less questions than we would have. The triple threat of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins is happening. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, that match is happening as well. I don't think Jade and Naomi are announced, but it pretty much seems like that's happening as well. Rhea Ripley apparently signed a contract for that women's world title match, so maybe she's in that match, I guess. So we do have some answers along the way here, but what's something that we haven't gotten into yet, Matty, that you want to see happen at WrestleMania 41?
Mid-card's a mess. I think we're both going to discuss that on this topic, but to me, I'm so tired of seeing the Fatu, the Solo play out, Braun Strowman getting involved. It's just, to me, it's a LA Knight winning the U.S. title on SmackDown. What is going on with the U.S. Championship?
That was, that was brutal, man. Like, I'm fine with LA Knight having the title.
But versus Braun Strowman on SmackDown for the title,
well, yeah. So it's not that it was more that when LA Knight won it back, it was against Shinsuke, who had done nothing, zero. Right. It was like the worst U.S. title run in like the last decade. He literally did nothing with it, and I think Shinsuke's probably on his way out the door. But neither here nor there. So now it just doesn't feel like it feels like LA Knight is transitional. Like this just doesn't. I don't know, man. I'm with you. I didn't think that Strowman match needed to happen like that either.
Well, and so then I'm trying to pivot to something I would like to see because I don't hate LA Knight. He's got the it factor.
No LA Knight hate.
He just has no storyline. Like there's nothing, and you're waiting to build this weeks when we've seen is Braun Strowman, Solo, and Fatu since January in the Saturday nights.
It's been a minute.
So to me, I don't know how you do it because I don't need Solo. I don't need Strowman. Give me Fatu versus LA Knight. They've got the it fight factor. I don't need another triple threat. We're getting that with no. So I mean, I need something simple. And I think it's one-on-one match between Fatu and LA Knight would tear the house down. I think it's two fan favorites. Everybody would be fully invested in. And if you're not going to give me Drew McIntyre versus somebody else other than Damian Priest, give me LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, that's another one that I guess does seem like it's on its way. And I mean, you've talked about that since Elimination Chamber with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. So I do think you're right. Like it's such an interesting time for LA Knight to hold the title because you do have, it seems like Jimmy Uso is coming for him. You have Jacob Fatu, who is just, for the fans, I don't know if Jacob Fatu can do wrong right now. I mean, he is just white hot right now. So I do kind of like the concept that you got these two guys that are just ultra, in with the fans right now. And I do think it would actually make for a pretty electric atmosphere, more so than the match I guess we are probably getting right in Fatu and Solo.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could kind of accomplish both things. If Fatu wins or if he doesn't win, you can kind of escalate that Solo story. And at the same time, if Fatu was to lose to LA Knight, I think everybody would still be okay with it. It would be just, it would pivot to this next thing. But if we get LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso versus Braun Strowman, like we don't know, none of these guys have enough story. It's just a clusterfuck, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and there is talent that was, just involved, whether it was the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber, that either don't have a story or they just haven't been seen in a couple of weeks. I mean, think about somebody that we said, Matty, has had a pretty drastic turnaround in their WWE career since coming back, in Nia Jax. Yeah. Where's Nia been for weeks?
Where's Sami Zayn?
Where's Sami Zayn since the KO match? I mean, yeah.
Just the mid card's a mess, man. Like the women's Intercontinental title. Only thing to me that's really standing out is Chelsea Green and this whole
Chelsea's killing it.
She's killing it. If you look at all the mid card champs, she's the one that. I mean, she's developing her character. She's got more Secret Service now.
Yeah.
And then everything else, it's like, who's the champ? And then how long are we going to keep it on them? Who are they feuding with? It's just such a mess.
Yeah. Chelsea surrounding herself with everybody she's surrounding herself is not from the United States, which I think is just another layer of
Yeah,
brilliance
so
for
good.
Chelsea. I'm loving that run. Hopefully that does not end at 41. I would be so disappointed. I'm with you though. I'm going to bring up a little bit of a mid card too, and for the IC title, for the Intercontinental title for the men, I would like it to be a ladder match between Braun Breaker, Penta, Dirty Dom, and Finn Balor. Now, I think what we're truly getting most likely, well, I say that, but then Dom kind of teased it right by holding the title, and you've kind of seen the meme or the photo going around of him looking down at the title is very reminiscent of when Eddie picked it up. Even their shirts are reminiscent, of each other. So I do think Dom has eyes for the title, and certainly Finn is probably not long for the Judgment Day. And I feel like that one of these mid card titles, whether it's the US title or the IC title, should be kind of one of those marquee titles where every WrestleMania it's kind of defended in this manner. Now, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and there was somebody else that had a triple threat for the Intercontinental title a few years ago, and it was a really, really good match. And that's one. I think that's where Seth ended up winning the Intercontinental title, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look it up here in a minute. But I also saw at WrestleMania 31 that I went to, there was like a 6-man ladder match for the U.S. title that Daniel Bryan won. I just think it should be like not like the US Open Challenge, but it should just have like that should just be a match. Every WrestleMania is like this sort of ladder match. And I think the
Yeah.
IC title, given, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon and all that history, the match that everybody talks about, I think it's like a
Ooh,
good ode to that as well.
you're on fire, dude. I love how you bring everything full circle, whether it's Paul Heyman or the Intercontinental title. I think that's money because you have a lot of the same thing. What are we excited to see? We want to see Penta. We know how badass he is with spots. We know how badass Finn Balor is. We know how crazy the crowd would go if Dirty Dom won the IC champ in a ladder match. And Breaker's just on another level. Crazy to think he's only been on the main roster a little over a year, maybe. But yeah, just intense. I would love that match. I think that's what needed. We don't need another triple threat, but a ladder match would get it done.
No, and they could even add a couple of more people, but I think those are the 4 main players. 4 to 6 people is probably the right amount for that match, the right amount of chaos. By the way, The Miz was the other person in that triple threat that I was thinking of. So it was
Okay.
Miz, Rollins, and Balor there. But that match was actually great. But yeah, I think this for the Intercontinental title, especially if. Do you think, Matty, that Braun has someone right now that he could lose to one-on-one and it would be okay?
So you got to kind of narrow down who we have. So Breaker's pretty much teetering on being a face at this point, you'd say, right?
Yeah, the
I
dogs are
mean, he's
barking
getting
every
the
week,
dogs are
man.
barking,
Dogs
right?
are barking every week, so I think so. I think you're right.
So I think Finn Balor's going to be lost once he's out of Judgment Day. It's going to be the Damian Priest effect. Like he's just going to tread water, and we're going to be kind of. So I don't really see like the title doing him any services or whatnot. He's a great worker. I just don't think they have a spot for him. But I think Dirty Dom would be the one. But I mean, Breaker, Penta, the crowd loves Penta. I don't think you need him with the title though. I think he's so good that it's almost like an attraction with Penta.
And that's kind of why I think the fatal 4-way or something to that effect is kind of the best way for Dom to win it, because he doesn't have the credibility right now to go against Breaker one-on-one. You said it with Penta that they're both such love that I think no matter who loses, it's not like a great outcome for the other. But I do think Breaker is kind of also teetering on the edge of going on to the next tier of things, which is why I think the fatal 4-way again makes a little bit of sense. And then with Balor, I love that you brought up like the Damian Priest effect. Like, do they have something past that moment? And the only thing that I can see with Finn And I wonder if at this point, do enough people care if he goes back to Demon Balor and going back to just a face Finn Balor? Does that do anything for you?
I mean, it's an attraction, like maybe once, but it's what do you do after that,
What do
man?
you do
Like
after? Yeah.
you got to be more than a good worker. Like there's so many different aspects to WWE programming that, or you're just going to get lost in the shuffle. Look at so many
Yeah.
talent in the mid card that they were just looking for a storyline.
Well, and I'm very surprised. You know, we do our weekly predictions that you can see on TikTok, Instagram, whatever at WrestleMats. We always post them before the show, and you and I both had Zelina Vega winning, and I think both you and I said, look, they're giving her all of these vignettes and all of these promos and all of this time, and she's making eyes for the title and this and that. She gets Def Rebelled with her theme song, and then she also promptly goes out and loses to Piper Niven. So she's just like, it's like just back to wondering on SmackDown for Zelina Vega.
Yeah, it's tough, man. We get so hyped up for the where the direction's going, and then you get these bumps in the road, and you're kind of like scratching your head. But there's writers that are doing this. These are pro wrestlers that are writing these storylines. So hopefully these all lead to better quality product. Sometimes they don't, but we just hope it doesn't kill the momentum somebody like Vega has.
And I think people probably know well enough by now that you and I are pretty pro WWE. We've had a lot of positive things to say, especially since we've started this podcast. And that's not to say that there isn't positive things going on, but you just can't turn a blind eye either and see that there's obviously room for improvement right now. And speaking of improvement, Maddie, let's improve the outcome of a previous WrestleMania match. And there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas along the WrestleMania timeline. Give me do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll take this one out. We're going
Right.
all the way back to 2000s, the millennium, the new millennium. What's going to happen to your computer? Is it going to crash? Well, in WrestleMania 2000, we had a fatal four-way. We hear so much about triple threats. It's very rare you get a fatal four-way main event. This was WrestleMania 16. You had Triple H versus The Rock versus Mick Foley versus The Big Show. This is one of those matches that was a head scratcher because you bring Mick Foley out of retirement. This was just after his like brutal matches with Triple H. You have Triple H level or, elevating himself. He ends up winning this fatal four-way. Does wonders for his career, but not a very memorable match. I think this brings me back where you go from WrestleMania 2000 to WrestleMania 31, where you had The Rock, Triple H have a moment at WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey, with Stephanie McMahon, kind of tease that WrestleMania match everybody wanted. Ronda Rousey and The Rock. Instead, we got Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey. But why didn't we ever get The Rock versus Triple H? We've talked about their career arch. We've got Stone Cold versus The Rock 3 times. What could have been in WrestleMania 2000, The Rock versus Triple H.
Yeah, there is there is a litany of matches that I think we will look back and say, why did this not happen? At a WrestleMania for whatever rhyme, for whatever reason. And it's kind of why at WrestleMania 39, I was pretty worried about Cody Rhodes not winning the title, because I was pretty worried, Vince. I was pretty worried that WWE would not have long enough storytelling that they could circle the wagons all the way back around a WrestleMania 40 and still be able to tell that story. And you also have to think about, well, guys get hurt, things happen, this and that. And then all of a sudden, the match that you think is going to happen is not. It could have easily been, Cody Rhodes versus anybody else if Roman would have gotten pulled for any number of reasons, right? So WWE does kind of have this tendency at times, and we'll have to see what happens, obviously, right, as we garner more here in this Triple H era. But they don't always put down what should be the biggest WrestleMania match, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher because you had Stone Cold out with the neck injury. You had Undertaker faced Big Boss Man in a Hell in a Cell match. That could have easily pivoted to the Big Show versus the Undertaker. Mankind, Mick Foley didn't have to come out of retirement. He was, out of shape, wasn't ready. This was Vince calling him a month before WrestleMania. Just kind of a head scratcher in all. One of the most, I'd say, forgettable WrestleManias. But to me, it was just one of those almost like a dream match. Triple H versus The Rock would have been one of the most memorable WrestleMania matches you would have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. So that's your dream match that did not happen at WrestleMania, correct?
Yeah, it should have happened, but didn't.
Gotcha. So mine is going to be a little bit more recent. We were talking before the podcast about another match that we'll talk about here later, and I'm like, oh wow, man, this thing is 20 years ago now. But the one that I'm going to bring up is much more recent history, because I'm going to talk about the Four Horsewomen, and I thought this thing was on a silver platter. Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. Never happened at WrestleMania. Kind of a la the Shield. We'll kind of throw it in. I didn't put that in as my match that did not happen at WrestleMania, but we can throw it in the same vein. A match that was right there in front of them. Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. I don't know why you have this major story and this major push forward in women's wrestling, and you have all of these women that are progressively pushing things forward. I mean, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, they've both main evented WrestleMania now. Sasha Banks had an incredible match with Bianca. She's had several incredible WrestleMania matches. Bayley as well, all winning title. Well, actually, I don't know that Sasha ever won at WrestleMania, but a lot of them having incredible WrestleMania moments. And there was even one year where I think two of the four were champions, and then Bayley had Money in the Bank. And so it was real easy in the works to play that out all the way to WrestleMania. I think it's the year that Bayley cashed in the same night, at Money in the Bank, if I remember it correctly. But I don't know, man. You have four pioneers in the division, and you don't have it happen at the grandest stage. That's just a huge head scratcher for me.
Yeah, those are the cornerstones of the pretty much women's wrestling in general. And to not have that, it just, that's one of those, I'd almost say now it'd be like a nostalgia moment to have that. But to me, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders there for a couple of years where they were closing out WrestleManias. I mean, this was a big time to have that and to squash it like that. It's a head scratcher.
Well, and now I would argue that you just have bigger stars. You have Liv Morgan, you have Rhea Ripley, you have Bianca Belair, you have Io Sky. I don't know if it's the marquee that it was, 5-10 years ago. And now you also don't know if you're ever getting Mercedes back in the WWE. Yeah. You don't know that we don't even know if we're getting Becky Lynch back in the WWE right now.
It's a different time in pro wrestling, like you said. I mean, Mercedes, AEW, Becky, she didn't even get the crowd reaction we expected. Her last outing at WrestleMania. So it's kind of, we don't know. I think we missed the boat on that one though.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's talk about an outcome that we wish would have maybe played out a little bit differently at a previous WrestleMania, and I want to kick it back to WrestleMania 35. So again, not that long ago, but also, not yesterday either. Kurt Angle, man. It's not the only time Kurt Angle is going to come up tonight, but it was obvious, and Kurt has said this himself, it was obvious that he was a little bit past the expiration date, if you will, in his last WWE run. I think he was just on borrowed time and a lot of pain. His clear and obvious last opponent probably should have been John Cena. For whatever reason, with Vince and a number of other things, that match did not happen. It instead happened against Baron Corbin. And Matty, I think this is exactly your point when you're talking about Finn Balor and what happens next. What happened next for Baron Corbin? Baron Corbin had a good run after this, but it didn't have anything to do off the back of him beating Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. So one of two things I wish would have happened differently here with this match. I either wish that it would have happened with Cena, or I wish Kurt would have won because it ended up doing nothing really for Baron Corbin.
Yeah, like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, just the
I
whole
don't know, man.
when Kurt Angle came back, he had Jason Jordan as his son. He's a member of the Shield. He's your GM. He's wrestling some weeks. He's not. It was just very like thrown together almost. Like none of it made sense. That's a very forgettable, like Kurt Angle. I don't think a lot of people, it's not a fondest memory for sure.
No, but if you would have hyped it, I think if you would have, and this is not a slight, by the way, at Baron Corbin. This is not a slight at all at Baron. I think Baron Corbin still has a place in WWE. I think they missed the boat a little bit on Baron Corbin and things that could have happened there. And I think that Vince, with the happy Corbin, the sad Corbin, the madcap, like he just doing too much there.
Yeah.
But all that said, if you would have had on the marquee John Cena and Kurt Angle, how much differently do you feel about the build and the things that would have done and just the chemistry and the things that they would have been able to do in the ring and just letting Kurt go out, man, on his own terms?
Yeah, big difference. Just anybody that had a credible, Corbin never was, in my opinion, never did it for me. And I don't think he ever caught fire like he should have at some point. Sure. So to me, it wasn't, I just didn't get it. And Cena would have been a game changer. It made so much sense. That's the thing. Storytelling over a 20-year career, ruthless aggression, how it started, how it ends. It would have been perfect.
Yep, full-heartedly agree. What you got for this one?
This one I went back and forth. I had a couple. Obviously, Vince McMahon played an effect. It is his show. It's his baby. He's not going to let WCW beat WWE, obviously. So that kind of narrowed down the Triple H versus Booker T or Triple H versus Sting. It's one of those matches. Sting versus Triple H. I would have loved to see Sting get a win. Obviously, he was on borrowed time. We didn't know how long he would be in WWE, so I can see kind of their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But man, this is tough. To me, it has to be the streak. The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. You get WrestleMania 30, you get the shock and awe, still holds true to today. But why Brock Lesnar? Why not make a guy? Obviously not Baron Corbin, but why not a Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns or a Seth Rollins?
Now Baron is catching strays, man.
Yeah, we're sorry, Baron Corbin. We got nothing against you.
Man, no, I know, and I do think that's the clear 101 of redos back in history, right? And I will say I've heard John Cena talk about this actually. They had the match. I guess it was the SummerSlam there after WrestleMania where Brock beats John by just doing like the 16 or 17 suplexes or whatever it was, and he and Brock talked about having that match and. I think Brock asked him if he's okay with it. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, we can't go out there and have a match where it's back and forth. Otherwise, you beating Taker at 30 means absolutely nothing. So that's why Brock actually went out there and just destroyed John. And so from that perspective, I do like that they did that. But to your point, Brock definitely didn't need it. So it begs the question of who. And I've heard Edge talk about it before where they wanted him to break it. Edge said absolutely not. Maybe, but Edge was pretty much made to. Like, he didn't really need. And so, yeah, I mean, it does go back to a matter of who. Do you push it out another year? Is it Bray Wyatt at 31? Is it, Roman Reigns at 32 when Taker got the second loss? Who is it?
But that's the thing. You had think of the Randy Orton legend killer vibe. You had going. You could have made a guy who was already maybe a world champ or had a young upcoming stud, maybe, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, just one of these up and coming, like already cemented themselves as a major player. It would have been a perfect tool, or maybe never have the streak broken. What a great way for The Undertaker to go out undefeated at WrestleMania.
Man.
I mean, he retired. I mean, what was the point of it? You retire Triple H, Shawn Michaels. There's so much. Brock's a killer regardless. He didn't need that.
So I mean, obviously we have all the history now, and we can hindsight 2020 what I'm about to say. But we talked about, I think Taker's last live good match was WrestleMania 29, and I'm talking about just his WrestleMania matches, not just matches in general. But his last good WrestleMania match live, excluding Boneyard, was CM Punk at WrestleMania 29.
Another one. Boom.
I would have been more okay with CM Punk than Brock Lesnar. Would you argue Bray? I mean, obviously, no. Bray Wyatt, 31. Would you have been okay with that?
Yeah, I would have. I think that, he had cemented himself as a major player. He would have done so much more, I think, for his supernatural. We saw his character was always dark, always had that effect. He could be summoning spirits from the Undertaker, something. He could have built off that match.
How much did people eat up that moment where Taker came back and just turned and whispered into Bray's ear? People talked about that for a long ass time.
Hell yeah.
And just that moment, think about how much more I think it would have actually elevated that moment had Bray Wyatt won at 31.
100%. Just so much what could have, should have, maybe would have been if they would have done it our way.
Hire us already? No, I'm just kidding.
My way or the highway.
Oh goodness. Is that that's Limp Bizkit, right?
Yeah, he's still going.
Have you seen Fred Durst recently? Almost unrecognizable, man.
I love how he's just went full board into this, like, however old he is, 40, 50-year-old dad look.
Oh, Fred, man, he is out there getting after it. All right, Matty, what's your perfect WrestleMania match? What do you stack up as? I don't know if you have to call it your 101 or your favorite WrestleMania match or whatever, but just a match that when you watch it, you're like, man, this thing did no wrong.
Yeah, it was the moment. It was WrestleMania 18, Toronto Skydome. Hollywood, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock.
Okay. Yeah. I almost went there. Went there too.
It's such a pivotal moment in wrestling nostalgia, history. Just the crowd flips it on the head and everything goes the way it should go. The crowd hijacks the show and they just tear the house down. You get the nostalgia of everybody wanting Hulkamania back, brother. To me, it was great. Storytelling, just the match. Didn't need to be much. Just needed to showcase two icons of pro wrestling.
Well, how long did they stand there in the middle of the ring just turning their heads back and forth? And how electric was that moment? They literally didn't even touch each other.
No, that was it. That was basically the match, was just Hulk hulking up, Rock having to turn bad guy kind of. And after that, like, you couldn't even have the WrestleMania main event. Nobody remembers Triple H Jericho because that match was so iconic.
Did you watch it recently by chance?
I have not, but I do tend every so often to watch the beginning. The crowd involvement. And just when the Rock or Hogan does kick out of the rock bottom and starts hulking up and everything like that, it's electric, man.
So that was actually going to be my question. Do you remember how many finishers there were in that match?
I do not.
Like between the two? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Was it a lot or?
No, I don't know because I haven't watched it in a minute either. And I was just curious because of the match that I was going to talk about and what just kind of transpired a couple of weeks ago when Roman Reigns came back during the Seth Rollins CM Punk cage match.
Yeah.
There was like 10 finishers in that match on a Monday Night Raw, man.
Too much.
Too much. It's way too much for me.
Just lay on the mat and sell. Let the crowd build up, and then the crowd's already into it, but sell the finisher. Like
that's one of the biggest things I wish WWE would change is all these multi-finisher matches, especially. If you have it at WrestleMania, if you have it at SummerSlam, 2, maybe 3, but this stuff of like 4, 5, 6, 7 finishers, I don't know, man. I just personally don't get it, and it's not for me. Maybe it's for somebody. Just personally not for me, but I'll harken back here to WrestleMania 20, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle for the WWE title in all the Mecca. Let's talk about it. Madison Square Garden, baby. But yeah, man, this match, it's funny. It's kind of like when you and I were talking about the heel turn with Seth Rollins and remembering it very differently. I literally just watched this match again today to make sure that this is the match that I wanted to talk about, and it still is. Now, the crowd reaction for them initially coming out, I guess it wasn't. It was. I think it was like the second or third match on the card, so it wasn't like the marquee main event here. But this match, the story of it, basically, if you just watch it, is really just about Kurt being a superior in-ring wrestler to Eddie, and Eddie having to scrap and crawl and have these reversals and just these moments of finding momentum just to even keep up, to keep pace with Kurt Angle. There was a frog splash attempt by Eddie that he missed. There was one that he hit. Kurt, I think, got the ankle lock 2 or 3 times, which I will say, a submission finish is a little bit different to get worked out of. It's a little bit different. You can work that a little bit differently. It's not like hitting a super kick or a stomp or a GTS or whatever 3 or 4 times. You can work out of that a little bit more. But this match ended in a roll up, Matty. It ended in a roll up because Eddie loosened up his boot after taking one of those ankle locks that I just mentioned that he got out of. Kurt Angle rips the boot off, charges at him, and then Eddie just gets him with a roll up in a WrestleMania match, Matty. And the crowd went bananas for it and ate it up.
And it was storytelling. Like, Kurt Angle's so fucking pissed off because I wouldn't even call it cheating, but just because Eddie got the upper hand and the way he got the upper hand with the boot, it's just perfect. It was all the gaga that you love about pro wrestling and which we miss about Eddie Guerrero. God, he was so good. And Kurt Angle was so good. Like, banger after banger at WrestleMania. Was it Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar? Kurt, I mean, dude, he was putting on dream matches every year, forever.
Yeah, so a couple of other things that I missed that I kind of wish they would bring back, and Eddie had the wherewithal. This roll-up happens basically at the edge of the ring. The ref counts 1. Between 1 and 2, Eddie gets his foot on the rope and uses it for leverage. So not only did Kurt pull off the boot, but he gets the leverage in the pin in the roll-up with the ropes. I don't know why people stopped utilizing the ropes for leverage and that sort of thing, but they did, man. And then one thing that I know we'll never ever get back are the flashes from like disposable cameras or the mini cameras and stuff that are going off during the matches. And I think the peak memory I have of that is the home run chase with Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa every time they came up there in the late 90s, and you would just see all the flashes as soon as the pitch left the hands and people trying to capture that moment. It wasn't that drastic at WrestleMania, but you go back in years prior and you see those flashes popping off, and it just adds a little pomp and circumstance, there in the crowd.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Just with just things we grew up with that, it changes, and sometimes it's for the good, but sometimes you just wish you could get just a little bit more of that back into pro wrestling, where the crowd reactions, just the storytelling of the boot from the beginning of the match, working the ankle to the end, and then, like you said, putting the feet on the rope, just kind of enhancing that Eddie Guerrero lie, cheat, and steal character persona, you say.
I wonder if you can get in a disposable, camera, right?
Yeah,
to a wrestling show these days.
I mean, if they're letting you bring signs in, why not, right?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for it. The next time I go, I'm gonna see what I can get out of that. It seems like a good little challenge in my
people be like, what is that?
Yeah, no.
Crazy, dude.
Well, that is going to wrap up our WrestleMania talk for this week, but it's WrestleMania season. We're going to be following stories all the way up until, of course, WrestleMania 41, dropping all sorts of WrestleMania content as well at WrestleMats, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. That's where you'll find us. Anything else? Any parting words here, Matty?
Dude, it's been a great week of content as always. Make sure you check us out at WrestleMats. WrestleMania season is on the rise. Buckle up and let's go.
We're out. See ya.